What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Koop'd podcast. The podcast can record with an open door and you reap the benefits of air conditioning because my parents are on vacation and I don't have to worry about disrupting anybody's peace. So, yeah, we're having a grandiose old time today. I've had ice cream for dinner for the past 2 days and I'm terrified. As always, my name is Koopa, and every week I sit down with someone or myself or a bunch of people and we talk about all the things happening in pop culture. And this week, it's kind of a grab bag of stuff, but mostly we're going to be talking about the surprise. I want to say surprise, but like number one at the box office this past weekend, Dragon Ball Superhero. And I am so excited to talk about one of the many tent poles of my personality, which is Dragon Ball Z. Was one of the tent poles of my friendship, one of my very good friends. I don't remember the last time we talked to each other on a podcast, but I know it was within the last couple of months.
It was
but
with Cam,
Sean
I
Toney,
think, right? Hi,
it was with Cam.
hello. Yeah, I think it was.
Cam?
Was it when we did Chip and Dale?
It was Chip and Dale.
I think it was Chip and Dale.
Yeah, that's what it was.
We only do
Sean
number
Toney.
one movies. Yeah, hi,
Yes,
hello.
sir.
Thank you for having me, Koopa. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's been a minute. It's been a very busy summer for both of us.
Yes.
So I figured now is a better time than ever, especially because it worked out both in our schedules. We both have very busy weeks this coming week. One of us is seeing Billy Joel, and one of them's
I am seeing.
me, so.
It is me. I am seeing Billy Joel tomorrow night for the very first time. I'm gonna have a very good time. What are we gonna ask?
What's your favorite Billy Joel song?
You May Be Right.
Ooh,
for a while it was Anthony's song, Moving Out, but then I heard You May Be Right, and I was just like, I kept listening to it, and I was like, oh no, this is it. This is my favorite one. This is his best song. And he generally closes his sets. I've been checking setlist.fm all week, checking out his past few shows at MSG. Now here's my bold prediction. So we're recording this August 23rd. The show is August 24th. Billy Joel likes to bring out a special guest, like at his shows, like, hey, just bring it out so-and-so to sing a song. My prediction is because this show is in the middle of this artist's month-long residency, or summer residency, I believe Harry Styles will be the special guest at the Billy Joel concert because he's doing an MSG residency, and then there's two shows happening in between. I think one is like 21 Pilots, and then Billy Joel, then it's back to Harry Styles again. So my prediction is I'm going to see Harry Styles tomorrow, but if it's someone else, I hope it's Bruce Springsteen. And that's all I'm going to say.
That would be crazy. I know. There was one. I don't know what it was. I love Billy Joel, obviously, coming from the tri-state area. He's top 5, one of the best. Number one, I didn't know you could do residencies at Madison Square Garden. That blew my mind.
There's been a few, because I know Fish did a residency for a while. Billy Joel has like a permanent residency. And also, I want to, before I get too far into it, if I'm going to be talking about Billy Joel in any capacity, I have to shout out my girlfriend Britt. She loves Billy Joel. She's the reason we're going to this show. She's the one who's pushed me into deeper into the Billy Joel pool, and so I can't pretend that I'm anything of a fan compared to her. But yeah, no, Fish has done a residency. Harry's doing a residency. If you go on MSG's website, when you click on like the types of tickets you can get, where it's like sports, concerts, Billy Joel has his own section. It's like Billy Joel has his own section on the MSG website for tickets.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for it. It'll be a fun time. Probably contract COVID, but we'll see.
We didn't catch the COVID.
I mean, I've gotten it once. How about you? You've gotten COVID, right?
So I tested positive for COVID. I'm still not convinced I caught it, truthfully.
Hold on.
That is
the definitive proof that you got
COVID's not real,
COVID.
guys. Come on.
No, hold on. That is not. No.
No, wrong podcast for that. No,
Yeah.
COVID is very much real. The pandemic is still happening. Wear masks, dude. That's all that fun stuff.
Yes.
But, I did catch it once. It was I remember way too specifically because it was the week leading up to a Smash gig I was working, and I needed to post a negative test within X amount of days before the event. And this is around the time where the Omicron variant was running rampant, and getting tests anywhere was a pain. But I had a friend who worked as a night nurse, and she was the one who was responsible for booking appointments for people online. So she was my plug on the inside, where I would call her on a burner phone in a telephone booth and be like, I need a COVID test in 2 days. And she'd be like, go to this place at 7 o'clock in Saddlebrook, New Jersey, and you'll get a COVID test.
And so that ended up testing positive.
Yeah, it literally was the day before the event. It was the day before the gig. Yeah,
Yeah,
so I was pretty tight.
I tested positive on vacation, which sucked.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
my
was in
gosh.
Nashville with the aforementioned girlfriend of mine, Brittany. She's the absolute
Shout out to
best. I love her. We were in Nashville, and on an unrelated health scare, we had to go to the ER that day. Everything's fine. But then when we got back, I was feeling like very tired, and my body felt heavy. And then I checked, and I absolutely tested positive. I was big time sick. For like 24 to 48 hours, I was really sick, and the rest of it was just like a cough and like snotty nose. But we were supposed to, so I tested positive on a Monday. We were supposed to fly home on a Tuesday. So we had to cancel our flight, book a car rental from Nashville, drive out to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to stay with Britt's sister in her guest room, and then return the car. And then we ended up flying back a couple days later back to LaGuardia. So that was my experience with COVID, where honestly the travel was more of a pain in the butt than COVID itself. Where, I mean, COVID sucked. I went through it was like a 10 to 12 hour car ride from Nashville to Myrtle Beach. I went through a whole box of tissues on the ride. Like,
wow.
I opened it and I closed it. It was my tissue box. I knocked it out. And yeah, it sucks. I don't know. I feel like at this point, over 2 years into this thing, I don't need to say anything like crazy here, but no, it's please be careful. It still sucks, and people are still susceptible. And I don't know, just be nice and wash your hands and don't be a jerk. I don't know. Hey, you know who I think did a great job this past week? And I'm gonna say this is by no influence over who employs me. But I gotta say, Crunchyroll did a hell of a job this past week with Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah, listen, one hell of a transition. Yeah, this is the big reason why we're gathered here today. Instead of not talking
Sonic
about
Frontiers trailer. It just came out a couple hours ago. I didn't see it.
Good.
Yet. It does.
I'm excited.
Are you excited? Yeah,
I'm actually really excited. Like, I go through this vicious cycle with like all the things that I like ever, which is mostly just like Sonic the Hedgehog and Pokemon, where it's like everybody is always so like tepidly optimistic about like whatever the next version of that given thing is, and then they'll show some footage for it. And I'm the type of guy where like I this is why I have trust issues, where it's like I'm so both feet in on something where it's just like like I'm really committed to this thing. I'm excited for it, and then it comes
I'm
out.
getting Scarlet Violet. I know that game's gonna be mine. I need to get Scarlet Violet when it comes out. Like that's happening.
I'm stoked.
So, you were saying like once it comes out.
And then I'm both feet in on it, and then everybody else might be a little subpar about it, and then or there's times where it's like I'll get like I don't know Sonic Forces, and I talk myself into liking that game, and then it's just very boring. But Sonic Frontiers looks fun. I don't know, man.
It's not for me. I think I don't know. Nothing about that game excites me, but I am friends with you and I'm friends with Cameron, so I have to objectively be like, it doesn't look bad. Like, I have to swallow a decent amount of Sonic stuff out of just symbiosis. But hey, you know what stuff I was happily ready to watch and consume? Well, that would be Dragon Ball Super Superhero.
Yeah, listen. When I was going through, I am a newly Cinemark Movie Pass member.
Congratulations, Mazel Tov.
Yeah, shalom. I've been finding myself.
I'm not Jewish, for the record.
Please add this for the record. Both me and John are not Jewish.
No, we are boys.
Yes, but listen, I've been finding myself going to the movies more and more often since the beginning of the year, just because it's something that's kind of helped pass the time. It's been a rough year, for everybody, I'm sure, but the movies are great.
I recently have, I'm sure I've said this on the podcast before, I have come to terms that the point in my life where I am most happiest is in a movie theater. Like if you want to see like my happy place, it is me sitting down in a theater watching a film. Like that has been my number one thing. I've gone to movies more times than I can remember this year, let alone since they've reopened last April. I went to two different Nighthawk location. I went to two different Nighthawk locations within the span of like a couple days of each other recently. Wow. Yeah, I went. I love it. I love going to the movies. And when I saw Dragon Ball Super was coming out, I got together our mutual friends Josue and Mike, who the three of us went to go see Dragon Ball Super Broly or Legend of Broly. I forget the name of it right now.
I think it's just
we
Broly.
Saw,
I think you're
we
right.
saw we saw the Broly film together. So I was like, hey, superheroes coming out. We got to see it. So that's what we did. We got together. We went to the Nighthawk. That was the other time I went to the Nighthawk. And yeah, I had a wonderful time watching this movie. I thought it was so cool, but we'll get into that. I got a question for you, my dear friend, though.
Absolutely.
Did you catch it subbed or dubbed?
So I'm glad you brought this up because this is something I was going to talk about regardless. Yeah. So I mentioned at the top of the podcast that there are many tent poles to the foundation of my personality. Sonic the Hedgehog is one of them. Pokemon is one of them. Dragon Ball Z and just Dragon Ball as a media is very much the third tent pole of my life.
Oh, it's the gateway anime, I would say.
Yeah. I would agree for like, boys are in our
almost
generation.
Every guy who watches anime started on Dragon Ball Z or something similar to it.
Yeah, so I love Dragon Ball. I watched Dragon Ball Z religiously growing up, like any kid in our age bracket, I'm sure did.
Had to collect the toys. Had to.
Yep, absolutely. I did. I collected the toys. I had merchandise.
Ooh.
There's a photo I have to show to you at some point. I might actually use it as a picture for the podcast this week. It's a picture of me as Goku in the second grade.
I remember when Mike, aforementioned Mike, he dressed up as Goku at our one Halloween party where you were dressed up as Mr. Crocker.
Yeah, I do.
We can post that. I don't know. I don't see we can post that one. I got to talk to Mike before I say post that.
Any consent from friend of the podcast, Mike.
Yeah. No. So, what was your favorite? Quick sidebar. What was your favorite DBZ toy growing up?
Oh man, I had two that I really liked.
Let's see. I have two as well that came to mind.
So the one that comes to mind first is I had a Super Saiyan Trunks toy, and it had this feature where like if you like flick the thing on the side of him, you would do like a roundhouse kick. Okay, that was really cool. But my favorite Dragon Ball Z toy of all time was a Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan toy, where like the limbs were all flexible. It came with a kit and everything. He was so cool, and without spoiling my thoughts in the movie, Gohan is one of my favorite characters, and just not just in Dragon Ball, but in fictional media. He is a great Gohan's character. Great. So that was one of my favorites growing up, truthfully.
My two favorites, I think. So I started watching DBZ as it was airing on Cartoon Network, the dub, and so I caught it through a friend. I was like, he had some of the toys hanging around his house or something, and I was like, "What's this?" He goes, "Oh, it's called Dragon Ball Z." So I probably picked up at like the tail end of like the Cell Saga, or maybe like the middle of the Cell Saga. So I got into it, and like, but I think the first saga that I saw like start to finish as it was airing on Cartoon Network was the Boo Saga. So my two favorite figures were Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, this tiny little one that was like it was a smaller figure, and then I also had a Kid Boo figure that I loved. So those two were my absolute favorites. I also had this one like what's like the tall adult version of Boo, like Slim Boo?
Oh, Super Boo.
Super Boo, yeah.
That's
so I had
what it's called canonically, I believe.
I had a Super Boo figure that that was very
keep talking.
Stretchy.
I got to show some for the podcast.
Yeah, go for it. It was a very stretchy Super Boo where it was almost like a Stretch Armstrong, and you could just like stretch it out super far, and like it was fun to mess around with. But me being a boy, I ripped it off very quickly, and then realized that underneath it was just like this little husk of a mannequin with like nothing past the shoulders and like just no features whatsoever. But it was great. It was a cool toy for like the week that it wasn't broken.
To speak for my fandom, I have this in my display case
hell
in my
yeah
house.
I love that.
Yeah, but I love Gohan. He's one of he's one of my favorite characters in Dragon Ball.
Yeah, Gohan rocks.
Yeah, to answer your initial question, I watch it dubbed because I can't for the life of me. I am not a sub versus dub guy. I don't care. You do what you want. There are certain shows where I can watch them subbed. It's fine. I prefer it that way. But when it comes to like those like classic like it shows that I grew up with,
you grew up on, yeah,
I can't do it. The Japanese dub of Dragon Ball it's too weird for me, man. It's so foreign to me.
I saw it subbed. I would have preferred to see it dubbed, I think, just because that's the voices that I'm familiar with. But at this location, the dub was the first screening of the day, then everything else was subbed. That being said, I've since like grown accustomed to Goku and Gohan's young voice being the permanent voice of the character, and it didn't bother me too much. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the differences were between the two. But yeah, I'll let you steer the ship, man. It's your podcast. Let's talk about Dragon Ball Super Superhero.
Yeah, so again, here's your last spoiler warning here. We will be talking about Dragon Ball Super superhero. Again, number one film in the box office this past weekend. Grossed 21.
Number one in the USA. It's only growing, baby.
Yeah, it's grossed 53, according to Wikipedia, $53.1 million worldwide so far.
Keep it coming, baby.
Keep the money
guess
coming.
What's next? One Piece Film Red. Subscribe to Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
I also should say my opinions on this are my own and not my employer's.
Yes. Yeah. Precursor up top.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if I believe correctly, now just for a quick synopsis of the film, again, I believe this film is a technical sequel to Broly.
Yes, it is. Did you see Broly?
I did see Broly. I liked it a lot.
Broly was really good. Yeah, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I really like a lot of the Dragon Ball Z movies. I know that a lot of them are like very hit or miss, but like some of my favorite characters, like in the canon, come from these movies. Like one of my favorite movies, or like one of my favorite characters in Dragon Ball is Final Form Janemba, when he's like the red and like purple guy. He's in some of the Budokai games.
Real quick.
Yeah, he uses
the name sounds familiar, but unfortunately the image is not clicking for me.
He's in some of the Budokai games, and he uses a sword, and he's super fucking cool. He was in one of the.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've seen this guy.
Yeah, he was in like that
you still do video podcast.
Yes.
There you go, friends.
There you go. Yeah, Janemba's hella cool.
Yeah, Janemba looks like a downright bad guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he makes his it's Fusion Reborn. That's the movie that I was thinking of. That's the movie that introduces Gogeta. And that movie,
and not Vegito. Not
Vegito, very different. Instead, it is Gogeta, who I believe, in my opinion, cooler. IMO. But
yeah.
That's
a hot take.
Pretty lukewarm take with my air conditioning on. But yeah, so this film is a direct sequel to that. It is a Piccolo and Gohan focused story because this is set in the timeline where Goku and Vegeta are off Earth training with Beerus and Whis, excuse me. And Broly. And Broly is
there too.
Broly's there trying not to cause a ruckus. But yeah, so this film also shows the reintroduction of the Red Ribbon Army. Originally,
by the way, I just want to go on record. Red Ribbon Army, what a cool sounding evil group.
Yeah,
right? And the badass logo. Like, I love the Red Ribbon Army. I think it's super cool.
Yeah, and some really cool. Again, if you're a longtime Dragon Ball fan, I think my spoiler-free synopsis of this movie is that whether it's from day one to like day wherever we are now in Dragon Ball Super, there's something in this movie for everybody. And I think as someone who primarily, as you know, again, I like Dragon Ball Super. I've watched everything. It's great, but nothing hits home to me like the original stuff does, especially Dragon Ball. I love Dragon Ball. So seeing the Red Ribbon Army, seeing those flashbacks of Goku just wrecking stuff as a child, I have fond memories of Goku just taking down this government technology facility, which has been hiding in plain sight as Red Pharmaceuticals.
Not a great. It's a real Clark Kent in the glasses situation where it's like minimal effort to try to hide it.
Yeah, like nobody put two and two together on this. But yeah, so this film focuses on the grandson, the son of Commander Red, Magenta, who, by the way, I don't know if you noticed or not. Do you know who voices him in the English dub?
I'm not sure.
You're not going to believe me when I tell you this.
Go for it.
It's Charles Martinet.
I knew he was in it. So through work, unfortunately I'm not based out of the West Coast, so I'm an East Coast Crunchyroll employee. But my friends got to go to the premiere, and one of them told the story about like Charles Martinet just like sneaking up behind him and like saying "excuse me," like that kind of like a Mario-esque voice. So I knew he was in the film. That being said, excellent casting. Like that's the right call for a little creepy guy like Magenta.
I thought it was so cool. But yeah, so Magenta is again trying to bring together the greatness of what the Red Ribbon Army was. He does
with his right-hand man Crimson. Crimson gets a couple good jokes in this movie, I think.
Crimson's pretty funny. I'm a fan. We'll talk about the humor as we move on, but very, very funny stuff. Crimson, I believe in the dub is named Carmine, I believe also.
I think it might have been Carmine. It was Crimson. I might be making up the name Crimson. Oh,
It might have been both.
Oh, my credentials.
Oh, geez, Rick. No, but it's fine. We'll get there. I
Where
believe
did I
you.
get Crimson from? Because it was Red Ribbon.
Because Dragon Ball is very original with their names, so I wouldn't have put it past you. So they do so by recruiting the surviving grandson of Dr. Giro, famously, the creator of the androids. We also a fun little cameo in the first scene. We get to see Android 21 make her, I think, official debut in a Dragon Ball media.
She's officially canon from the Dragon Ball Fighters game.
Yeah, she's the wife of Dr. Jiro, I believe.
I could not follow it, honestly.
Let me see. It says here
the family tree is a bit messy.
Yeah. It says some, I think she was his wife, and then his son was the model for Android 16, and then that guy is Dr. Hito's father. I think it's what that is. Dragon Ball Wiki might be lying to me.
I'll have to take another look at the family tree another time. I just know that Magenta paid off the bail or something, picked up from jail Dr. Hito, who could only be described as a little Gru.
Yeah, pretty much.
He looks and acts so much like Gru from Minions.
It's very Gru-esque for sure.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But yeah, we get introduced to these characters early. There's a lot of exposition, some really funny humor
as per the norm for every Dragon Ball movie ever.
Yeah, there's a lot of talking.
There.
A lot of talking, which is fine. So yeah, we get introduced to all these new characters up front. And then we fast forward to everybody's favorite dad, my favorite dad, Piccolo, doing some Saiyan training with Pan. Pan, I'm making her official debut in a Dragon Ball canon-wise, I believe.
I want to say for Pan real quick. So like Pan obviously shows up at the end of obviously it's in GT. It's one of the main characters in GT.
Yes.
She also, I believe, shows up at the very tail end of Z. I could be wrong there. I think it's like a baby.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you're correct.
So when I see that there's this kid, I'm like, oh, it's another like Goku offspring or something like that. As soon as I saw the name Pan, I lit up. And I'm so happy I lit up because I will go ahead and say it. Pan steals the show the whole movie. Pan is such a fun character, so funny, and it's just like her and Piccolo have such a good dynamic. I loved it.
Yeah, I believe the saga she shows up in is called the Peaceful World Saga, which Pan, I believe, is like 4 years old. So this movie takes place technically a year before any of that happens.
Okay.
If you want to go with the anime logic. But yeah, she seals the show for me. Little 3-year-old Pan training with Piccolo.
Super funny.
Super fun. Great comic relief. Watching her Naruto run to school was hilarious. But yeah, and then we kind of get a look at what Piccolo's life is doing. I hate that he holds a cell phone like this. It bothers me deeply.
Oh, I thought it was good because like he's so funny. Like he's so not used to it, right? like he, and you can also tell he did not pick out his phone case. Like it's like a big cat. And so I think it makes sense. It would be weird if Piccolo knew how to operate a smartphone. Right? Like
I agree. It would be very strange.
No, I think it makes sense for Piccolo to like manhandle his smartphone like it is like a weird utensil that he's never seen before.
And it's so funny. Like it's the first time I thought I was like, oh, this is gonna be a recurring thing, and it's just so fucking funny. Like seeing like actual like cell phones and smartphones in the Dragon Ball canon, I thought would be less weird because of everything else that goes around. But I'm like, it's a little jarring. But I dug it. It was fun visually.
At first, yeah. I mean, the only time that I really like made myself go, what's going on here? Is when as Magenta picks up Carmine and pitches to him like, hey, we need to build a superhuman to fight these villains. And he starts pitching Goku and Bulma's crew. Bulma specifically because she is the CEO of Capsule Corp.
Yes.
So she's the boss of Capsule Corp. So Magenta pitches to Hito saying like, hey, I know you want to be a superhero, but I know you love that stuff. And we found these bad guys. And he's lying to Hito, pitching Goku and his friends are bad guys. And one of the videos that he uses to show it is, I believe, Trunks killing Frieza.
Yes.
Which, like, oh, cool. You rewrote it a little bit so that someone was filming it on a smartphone. But whatever. I mean, Trunks also time traveled. I can't be mad about his cell phone. Like,
sure. Exactly. Yeah. There's little stuff like that, which I think is fun. But yeah, so then we get introduced very quickly to one of our antagonists in the movie, the latest addition to the androids families, Gamma 2 in this instance, soon to be followed by his brother Gamma 1. There's a little bit of a scrap that takes place, and then comes a lot more exposition, for, again, typical Dragon Ball stuff. So
I'll say, before we breeze past the scrap, I do want to point out something that was very funny that I wish they followed up on more throughout the movie, is that in true superhero fashion, when Gamma 2 landed a blow on Piccolo, the big cartoon bam, biff, Batman style text showed up in the background, and Piccolo commented being like, why are there words here? And I wish that was followed up throughout the movie. I mean, it kind of is, but by the third act, it's completely gone.
Yes, they also make that joke in the dub, which I thought was hilarious.
Oh yeah, no, the joke totally landed for us.
It's so good. Again, very funny. This movie is incredible.
Yeah, no,
very funny.
genuine laughs here.
But yeah, so I love the over exuberance of Gamma. Again, I love that he's he's a superhero. Gamma
2 is so concerned about his image as a superhero. He is just constantly trying to pose correctly, say a cool thing. It's such an endearing quality, which comes into play later on in the film.
Yeah, and also does not let up on the King Piccolo thing, which deeply bothers Piccolo.
Oh, I love it because I don't know if this was in the. I'm assuming it was in the dub as well. They keep making jokes about which version of Piccolo are you? It's it's a long story. I don't have time to explain. Yeah, I am Piccolo. Because Piccolo has just fused so many times and is so many people.
Yeah,
it was a really fun little joke of just being yeah, Piccolo's gone through a lot of shit.
Yeah, the way they do it in the dub, they do it as Piccolo's just I really don't have time to explain this.
Yeah, similar thing in the sub.
It's the same concept. But yeah, so then we get word of we get an interesting look after the whole scrap goes down and Gamma believes to have defeated Piccolo. Before Piccolo sets off on his chores of picking up Pan from preschool because Gohan and Videl cannot. I love that we get introduced to one of the main central conflicts of this movie where Piccolo thinks that Gohan's gone soft on him.
Well, I think also on a greater scale, not just going soft, he is trying to right the wrongs that Goku performed onto Gohan. Right? Goku was a terrible father to Gohan. It's a running joke amongst the fandom. And Piccolo sees Gohan ignoring Pan for his work, which his hyperbolic time chamber is doing an article about bugs. A research paper on bugs. Yeah. So Piccolo sees that and he has zero patience for it. It's you need to be a father. In so many words. He's kind of pushing him, being don't be like your dad. You're better than that. I know that you are capable of being the strongest living thing in the universe.
Yeah, and that's also a major talking point throughout multiple points in the movie, where everybody mentions how Gohan was once looked at to be a greater warrior than his father. And I love that they're teaching us these very real life lessons about work life balance in a Dragon Ball movie. I was yeah, that's great. I love that. Because again, it's no joke in the fandom, and every review that I've watched has mentioned this too.
You have to acknowledge it.
Goku's a terrible father. he means
terrible
well.
Dad, terrible granddad.
Yeah, he's a terrible father.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's really cool though. I mean, that was the first sign of me watching this movie being oh no, there's something to this. It's not just a Dragon Ball episode. There is a deeper. There's some morals to it, right? And I feel that's something that I think Broly kind of lacked. And not that I was looking for it in Broly. I was looking for a fun Dragon Ball movie. I got it. But this time I was oh, this is kind of cool. There's you see Piccolo trying to break the chain with Gohan being a better father and trying to push him towards being a better dad.
Yeah, while also penning it in the thing is oh, you don't know when the next catastrophe event is going to happen on Earth, and then
which is also a great lesson. You got to be prepared.
You got to be prepared for when bad shit happens because Goku and Vegeta are not here.
Something cool that I liked was just it's been so long since Gohan wore the gear, his proper training gear. Which also they draw Gohan a little bit slimmer when he's not in his gear. He looks kind of skinny, almost thin. So it's oh man, he hasn't been training for a while. And then as soon as he puts on the gear, which Piccolo also now has the power to change someone else's clothing. Awesome. Cool. Love it. It's so heavy that Gohan kind of wobbles around a little bit and you realize oh yeah, I forget that they are Super Saiyan. They're not super, they're Saiyans. They are a superhuman breed. So like they are like what they consider just like the weight of clothing would be super heavy to us as normal people. And I feel like that was probably touched on in like the first episode of Dragon Ball, and then not really brought up again if it was touched on at all. But I like that like added visual. It was a fun joke.
Yeah, I've always loved the concept that like everybody just wears weighted clothing, and that's why everyone moves so fast. Like I just think that's fucking hilarious, and it's real cool. And also, like you mentioned, just visually, it's like again, as someone that has watched Dragon Ball throughout its iterations, like Gohan in the Piccolo gi, like with the whole setup and the shoulder pads and everything, he looks great. It just brings back so many memories. There's so many times throughout this movie I'm just like smiling like an idiot because I'm reminded of why I love this franchise so much. But yeah, so again, Piccolo and Gohan have a small scrap. Again, a lot of scrapping in this movie. But then, Piccolo punches him in the gut and is just like, all right, I encourage you to keep on training while you're working, and I'm going to go pick up your daughter from preschool. So. Oh,
also, there was a little Videl cameo earlier in there, too, because that Videl FaceTimed Piccolo. I'm like, oh, cool, Videl's here. Which leads me to my second complaint. They talk about Mr. Satan or Hercule. I'll call him Hercule because that's what I grew up calling him.
Yes.
But it's Mr. Satan, I know is the real name. They talk about him so much. Give me one little scene with him, and I would have been happy.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed of my lack of
I'll survive without my little Mr. Satan dream scene.
Just like him talking to I don't know, Boo or something like that. Because that's
Boo. So we'll get to that in a second, but I like how they wrote off Boo. But we should probably keep going. I really want to talk about the third act. There's so much I want to say about that, but we need to get through the meat and potatoes so far to get to the dessert.
Yeah, so we get to a lot of where the meat and potatoes of what the plot's eventually going to be here. Piccolo beats up a guard in the Red Ribbon base after tailing what's his face Gamma 2. Back to where the Red Ribbon Army is hiding. He ends up, sitting in on a meeting where everyone's just kind of talking exponentially about what's going on. We're getting word of how, again, everybody thinks that the Capsule Corporation is a front for aliens, which I think is very, very funny. In a world where there's fox people walking around and like people are like hanging out with dragons, like aliens are everyone's biggest concerns.
To be fair, like they're right. Like they are aliens. Like they're not from planet Earth. The majority of them.
This is true.
It's just Krillin and a bunch of aliens.
That should be the name of the show, actually.
Yeah.
I have some thoughts about Krillin, but we'll get there later.
Oh, we're gonna get to Krillin. We're gonna get to Krillin.
So we got us introduced to what eventually becomes the MacGuffin in this movie. That they are making Cell is being reborn this time as Cell Max.
So something they do. Which at this point, I'm assuming you've seen the movie or you're okay with spoilers.
Yes.
They do something that I think is done very similarly to films like Jaws or even like Predator, and Godzilla, I think in the very first Godzilla movie, where they talk about this big looming threat and they don't show it. They don't show it for a long time. And the way they talk about Cell Max, it's like kind of in passing. And Dr. Hito's just like, we're working on Cell Max, but also I'm focusing on my heroes, like Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. Like, they're my pet projects. So they kind of set it up in a way where it could just be a throwaway line. They don't show they don't show any visuals that lead towards Cell Max actually being worked on. As far as you know, Hito could be lying. Like, you can tell he has no interest in Cell Max. And then it ends up paying off in spades in the third act, which I have, again, just so much to talk about with Cell Max. Cell Max is so effing cool. I loved it so much. But yeah, so that is like that's what I really like about it, is that they allude to it without actually showing anything, kind of build up. Like, to us it's like, well, we know Cell, but like a new Cell, like technology's changed, how strong could he be? And it also seems like, as far as you're concerned, Gamma 1 and 2 are the big bads of this movie at this point. So you don't really think twice about that. You're just like, okay, yeah, Cell Max, let's keep going.
Yeah, and that's what all the promotional material led you to believe. And again, I love it when I love a misdirect, especially when it pays off the way that it did, like you mentioned. But yeah, we get all the information about Cell Max, how Magenta wants to utilize it. Dr. Hito is hesitant. It's like, no, these two are my magnum opus. They're going to take care of it. So in this instance, Piccolo takes this information, slips away, contacts Bulma and is like, hey, listen, we got to get in touch with Vegeta and Goku because bad shit's about to happen. And then we get our breakaway to what's happening with
we cut to the obligatory Goku Vegeta scene that this movie had to have because Dragon Ball is in the title. And I'll say it's fun, it's cool, it's essentially, to summarize it very quickly, Goku and Broly are sparring. Broly's about to lose his temper, and Goku's like, no, you can't do that. And then was it Wiz? Is that the name of the Whis? Okay, Whis is out, and it's like, well, you all should be training anyway. Lord Beerus needs to find someone suitable to fight, and it encourages a big sparring match between. Now, I think it was initially between the three of them, but it ends up being just between Goku and Vegeta.
Yes.
They start fighting. Beerus is hungry. He starts eating ice cream. And the big thing is that Beerus throws an ice cream carton over top of the communication device that Whis has with Bulma. So at this point, they are so entertained by the two greatest Saiyans of all time fighting each other that they could not be bothered by this call about a danger on another planet that honestly is not a threat to them directly.
Yeah, this is like the most.
I think that summarizes the whole thing, right? Like,
it's the least consequential part of the movie. You pretty much.
Oh no. It is purely just to get Goku and Vegeta in the movie. Like that's it, and it does its job fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like at that point I was just like, okay, I get it. Let's get back to like what's going on with Piccolo, and I think this is a greater comment to Dragon Ball as a whole, is while like the main characters of Goku and Vegeta are so good, it's the supporting cast and how much the fans care about them that really make the show a bit more of like a legacy, right? Like people love Piccolo, people love Gohan, and this movie relies solely on the supporting cast of Dragon Ball. And I think it's really cool to see a movie like that succeed. Yeah.
Again, Goku and Vegeta are really just here for this cup of coffee to just show that they're here and they exist. And yeah, so Whis cannot answer Bulma's call. So we eventually fast forward back to Earth where Piccolo's next step in his equation is to get senzu beans, where we get cameos from Yajirobe, my goat,
my man,
big fan.
Yajirobe.
Yeah, well, does not have to say anything. But
does not have a single line. Yajirobe sits there. I forget the cat's name, but the cat's
Korin.
Korin. There we go. And also at this point, Bulma explains that everyone else is busy, and they explain that Majin Buu is on his rest year, where he just sleeps for a year and cannot be bothered. And it cuts to a throwaway of just Boo like lounging in a chair. It's such a good joke. It's such like a good way. It's like Boo's out of the equation, and it's Piccolo being like, okay, I have to rely on all my other friends who are stronger than me. They're all busy. F it, I need to go get a senzu bean and do this thing myself. Yeah. And so gets the senzu beans. I think there's only 2 of them left. Yajirobe's starting to grow a little beard. Very cool to see.
Yeah, looking
and then
real healthy.
I think the next plot point is the Shenron wish?
Yes. Piccolo scales the rest of Korin's tower, where he inevitably remembers, and again, a great callback to an earlier part of Dragon Ball Z, where he remembers, Dende is technically part of the Namekian race. Oh my god,
I forgot about Dende.
Yeah, where we get a Dende appearance here, where he's like, oh, hey, Dende, you're part of the Namekian race that can, awaken someone's dormant powers, as what the Grand Elder Guru did during the Frieza saga to Gohan and Krillin. So he's like, can you do that to me? And Dende's just like, nah, man, I'm not old enough yet. So yeah, that's when we inevitably get our peek at Dende upgrading the dragon to do 1 wish to 3, which is cool.
Here's the thing that I don't think... No, so here's the thing. He did not upgrade it in the movie to get 3 wishes. That was done prior to the movie, but after Broly, because he upgrades it to give them... to do an even better, like, blessing of power. Because the way he says it in the movie is like, oh, I can upgrade it, just like I did to upgrade it to 3 wishes. So it's kind of just like this weird, very expository, don't think about it too much dialogue, which is then followed up with probably the peak of don't think about it too much dialogue, which is just, oh yeah, Bulma has all 7 Dragon Balls.
Yes.
Just chilling at her house.
Yeah, we definitely figure out that all of the Dragon Balls are with Capsule Corporation. Bulma has hired interns to get the Dragon Balls for her.
I shouldn't be mad because, like, in what was it? Battle of the Gods, they were raffling off. There was a bingo game prize. Was one of the Dragon Balls.
Yeah,
right.
I guess. Yeah, that's true.
So, like,
You're
whatever.
right.
But it's just like the fact that all 7 are just with Bulma, and it's just like, okay, like. I don't know. I love Bulma, though. And then you get a shot of Bulma's big fat butt.
Yes. There's a lot of more of Bulma's butt than I was expecting in this movie. But
not the only butt in this movie.
No, you're right. There's another butt. No ifs, ands, but definitely a butt. But yeah, we get to our next scene here. Where we see Piccolo meet up with Bulma, summon Shenron. I don't know how this carried over in the sub, but in the dub, it was I like cackled. It was so fucking funny. Where Shenron is summoned, he's going through his whole spiel, and then he just stops. He's like, "Oh, hey, Piccolo, what's up?"
Yeah. Oh no. It was very similar to that, but like I think because we don't understand Japanese, like. The dialect or like the change of tone was just like not that pepper. It was like, oh, Piccolo, hello. And it was just kind of moving on. But I laughed at that scene. It was very good.
It was so funny to watch Shenron just go straight business casual. I'm just like, yo, I was not expecting
Piccolo,
that.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. Which got me thinking, and I tried to find this beforehand, but I couldn't. Like, has Piccolo ever summoned the Dragon Balls himself? I
don't believe so. No,
I don't think so.
No.
But yeah, so
always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Yeah. Yes, that's pretty much just the cuts for this whole film. Love it though. More Piccolo content, please. Yeah. So Piccolo explains to Bulma, he's like, I only need one wish. I'm going to wish for Shenron to unlock my dormant potential, and then which allows Piccolo to turn I don't know if it was just me.
Yellow. He turns yellow.
Yeah, he turns yellow. He does discolor a little bit.
He turns like a greenish, like a pickle yellow.
Yes.
Like a pickle green. And then Shenron also says that he sprinkled on a little bit extra. And then for the last 2 wishes, which again, I don't know why they made it 3 wishes when there's only 1 wish that matters. The other 2 wishes are for Bulma to have a firmer butt and for her to have less wrinkles around her eyes. And Shenron's like, okay, goodbye. And he doesn't. Bye, see ya.
Which leads to a funny scene of Piccolo chastising Bulma, being like, "You could have just wished for Goku and Vegeta to be here."
Like, yeah, like don't wish for that. Don't wish for the Red Ribbon Army to go away. Like, whatever. It's fun. Yeah. It's a weird place to put a joke, but the joke landed, I think. And then the next big thing is that Piccolo now goes back to the Red Ribbon Army base and finds out they have a plot to kidnap Pan to extract Gohan. So Piccolo's like, well, I'm going to make sure I'm there to kidnap her because I know where she lives. And so he goes there with this big hulking dude, and they go to pick up Pan from preschool, and Pan beats the shit out of this dude.
This scene made me so happy.
Like, I think 8 times the size of Pan.
Yes.
And Pan knocks him on his ass in 1 punch. It is such a good visual. Also, side note, Piccolo knows Pan's preschool teacher on a first name basis.
Yeah, he calls her Janet. I'm just like,
he knows her by name.
That's so cool.
Piccolo is, again, best dad. Like,
I agree.
Yeah,
you can tell he's done this before. Like, oh man, just the whole Pan, the Pan Piccolo relationship just melted my fucking heart. It was so cool.
They get back on the plane, record a little hostage video. At this point, Pan knows that Piccolo is there. And Piccolo's like, we're just gonna do this to get your dad here. Just pretend that you're in danger. And so they record a video, bring Pan back. They then go to pick up Gohan, show Gohan the video. This unlocks Gohan's anger, makes him go Super Saiyan, beats the crap out of these guys. They fly back. Piccolo has still not revealed himself yet. This leads to, and I'm sorry if I'm skipping over anything. So
no, you're good. You're good.
This leads to a big fight between Gamma 1 and Gohan.
Yeah.
They're fighting.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, I think the only thing that I found funny is that when Gohan just like flicks a gun out of the guy's hand. Also, he completely destroys he completely devalues his property value by going Super Saiyan. Like, it's a massive sinkhole in his front yard now.
He straight up like makes his house fall into a hole. And like Videl still not home yet.
Yeah. Where's she been all day?
She was running errands.
That's right.
It was in the FaceTime.
Yeah, for her kung fu fitness class.
So while Gohan's fighting, he's like full Super Saiyan 2, throwing away his glasses finally, and then like still kind of like going toe to toe with the Gammas. Then Piccolo just whispers to Pan like, "Just scream, ow, you're hurting me." She does so. This unlocks like a even stronger version of Gohan, where he just destroys the two of them.
Yes.
And this then leads Piccolo jumps into the fight, so it's the two Gammas fighting Piccolo and Gohan. And over time, Piccolo's like, "Why are you fighting me? I don't get it." And it's oh, I'm sorry. Wait, no. There's a great part, and it's the introduction of a new form for Piccolo.
Yes, and also the form with when Gohan powers up, I believe, is the allusion to his potential unleashed form. Which
that's an insane name. I'm not going to call it that.
So basically, Gohan's, if I remember correctly,
Unleashed Gohan.
He obtains this form during the Buu saga. I think this is right after. I think it's right after Super Buu becomes a thing, and then Super Buu absorbs him, and that's how he becomes so strong. But basically, Gohan's potential is unlocked.
Hey, Koopa?
Yeah.
You said Super Booby.
I did say Super Booby.
Yeah!
Yeah.
So, while they're fighting, Piccolo gets knocked down this chasm. And as a fan growing up watching DBZ, you were always thinking, wouldn't it be cool if Piccolo went Super Saiyan? Like, the whole time you're thinking, like, it would be cool if Piccolo goes Super Saiyan. Well, he essentially does by going into this new form where he has a chiseled jawline, he's freaking huge, turns orange, has his antennas go up like little demon horns, the Demon King Piccolo.
Yes.
And the best part is that, like, Gamma 2 runs up to him, and Piccolo's like, it's like nothing. They're throwing all their punches, they're shooting at him, he's just standing there still, immediately wrecks all of them. And during that fight, they ask the Gammas, like, hey, why are you fighting us? Why you were told we're the bad guys? What if you were lied to? And it makes these two characters, the Gammas, more sympathetic because they're just trying to do their thing. They're just doing what they're told. Them and Hito were lied to. And then, like, while all that's happening, like, they've decided they're fine, they're cool. Gammas and Saiyans get along great. Then Magenta and Carmine try to get away. Pan immediately bodies Carmine. Like, just destroys Carmine. Then it leads to a Magenta Hito fight, which is really, really cool because, like, Magenta shoots at Hito, and Hito's like, don't you remember? My suit resists impact to a very high degree. It's like, well, you're not the only one with a suit. Rips it off. He's just this ripped little dude with body armor made from, like, mech stuff. They start fighting. The whole reason why is because Magenta's trying to activate Cellmax, release Cellmax into the world to complete the Red Ribbon Army's goal of destroying the Saiyans and taking over the planet. This is when I'm like, at this point, because when they solved the Gamma thing, I'm like, oh, it's kind of early in the movie. I didn't realize that, like, the Gammas are there. Then, as Magenta is dying, he slams his fist as hard as he can onto this big red button.
Yep, never good.
And Cellmax is being unleashed. You see this countdown. You see all this shit going on. And then the best part is, it's just like in Jaws, where they only show the animatronic a little bit because they knew the animatronic looked kind of crappy. They do not show you the full thing of Cellmax. They see what you look familiar with Cell, except now he's red. And they show close-ups and all this stuff. You don't see the full body. Cellmax rises. And I love this because at this point now, I think the other available, like, people of the crew, so Android 18, Goten, Trunks, Krillin, Bulma have all arrived.
Correct.
And this is where it's like, there's a line where it's like, I summoned the strongest people on Earth and Krillin. And that's just the first of many dunkings that happens to Krillin in this movie.
So first and foremost, I just want to point this out. Krillin has always been one of my favorite characters in Dragon Ball.
He's a cop.
We no longer. Sorry, man. I hate to break it to you, Krillin.
ACAB includes Krillin.
ACAB does include Krillin now, unfortunately.
All cops are bald.
That's the first thing that came to mind. I was like, oh man, like,
yeah, right. Like,
just like,
just immediately like, and he's wearing this dorky ass helmet.
Yeah,
Like,
he looks like a dweeb.
He looks like such a dweeb. He's such a loser. And like, so they're all there. Goten and Trunks are like, oh, hey, what's up? And then they're like, Piccolo barely even recognizes them. It's been so long since he's seen them.
Yeah.
And then while they're like reuniting and they're like, hey, the Gammas are cool now, you see Hito like fly into the scene being like, you guys have to run. Like, Cell Max is here. Cell Max is here. He's screaming it. And it's like, it feels scary.
Yeah.
Then you see Cell Max rise, and he is gigantic. And to make sure you understand how big he is, he punches Gohan. His fist is the size of Gohan.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It was sick.
It was so cool.
Like that whole introduction scene, and like again, it took me kind of a while to warm up because we haven't talked about the art style much.
It didn't bother me at all.
It took me a little bit to get used to it, truthfully, because again, I'm just so used to seeing hand drawn Dragon Ball, but like seeing like the fight visualizations and that whole like
fights were so much better
for Cell Max. I'm just like, oh my god, this looks fucking fantastic.
It feels like a horror. It feels like a monster movie.
Yeah,
like Cell Max is this big, huge, hulking figure, and like the world is like tearing apart around them. And even like you see Piccolo at the time was like the biggest dude in the fucking scene, and he looks like an ant compared to Cell Max. And Cell Max is also like the other thing that they did that I really love. Cell Max does not say a single word, just screams, just makes these guttural sounds to make him feel even more scary because he's more like an animal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that whole introduction was ridiculous.
Cell Max was so good. I could not get over how much I loved Cell Max. I thought it looked awesome, super scary entrance, and just immediately just like they have to do everything they have to just throw everything at it and be like, we have to try to stop this stuff.
Also, in this scene,
point, Piccolo has reverted back to Piccolo form, not Orange Piccolo.
Not Orange Piccolo.
The naming process of Orange Piccolo is just like so good. Where it's like you got to come up with a name, like Super Saiyan. It's like, well, I turned orange and I'm Piccolo.
Why not Orange
Piccolo? And I'm like, that's all it needed to be.
Yeah,
like, that's all. That's what we were going to call it, regardless of what happened.
It's so funny.
Oh, so good.
But yeah, so then this sets off our final gambit here in the third act of the film, where it's all of the greatest heroes left on Earth and Krillin.
No, Krillin has to watch Pan.
Krillin has to watch Pan.
Krillin is too afraid to jump into the fight.
Need a cop made him soft.
Yeah, it did.
But yeah,
he's like, I already clocked out for the day.
So what do we get? Again, we get to see everybody just taking their turns, trying to make a dent on Cell Max, which leads to some great visuals. First and foremost, to start off. We then learn from I think it's from Dr. Hito or the Gammas that they built in a weak spot.
So this is another thing that I wish that they would have shown instead of told, because I think if like while Magenta was like, you got to build Cell Max, it would have been like fun to see Hito just be like, all right, fine, but in case something goes wrong, here you go. And then when it happened, rather than just like them being like, oh, we forgot to tell you this happened, it would have been cool to see that earlier in the film.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I agree. It would have made much more sense to show it rather than tell it, but it's Dragon Ball, so I can't.
But that also would then confirm that Cell Max was real early on, and that would have been kind of like iffy too. So I don't know. It was good. It was good. Ultimately, it wasn't enough to take me out.
Yeah. So we see everybody taking their turns trying to to penetrate the skull of Cell Max. First, Piccolo tries to do so with a special beam cannon. Does not work. Because then visually looks sick. Watching everybody just do their thing. I think Goten's the only one that does like a proper Kamehameha in the film.
So what's really cool too is that you then see my favorite part of the movie. One of my favorite parts of the movie is that like Goten and Trunks are like, well, why don't we just fuse? Like, let's just fuse. And Goten's like, it's been a while since we fused, and you get fat Gotenks.
Loved it,
and
so good.
And even Piccolo immediately is like, and they end up using fat Gotenks to like drop him on Cell's head, and Piccolo's like, that's the first time a failed fusion has done something successfully, ever.
Yeah.
Also, I want to throw out another cool thing about Cell Max, because they're doing 3D animation. Like the 3D dark aura around him, like all the energy that was around him, looked so cool.
Oh yeah.
I was freaking out. I'm sorry. I'd be ashamed if I didn't highlight this. I want to rewind a little bit back to when Orange Piccolo first debuted and first like comes out of the chasm. I looked over to Mike and Joe Sway, and all three of us had our jaws like open, eyes super wide, and we're like, it's like seeing someone go Super Saiyan for the first time, and it's like, oh, there's a new form of Piccolo.
Yeah,
and I was just like, in that moment, I was like, this is a cool movie. I'm having a great time with my friends. Like, it's rocks.
Yeah, exactly. That's at that point I was like, this movie is fucking sick because like
so
they
good.
keep calling him King Piccolo, and then this is as King Piccolo as we get until they go even more King Piccolo-y with what he ends up doing.
So yeah, they're all fighting. Krillin's like, F this, I need to come back in. And comes in with a Destructo disc, and I'm like, yeah.
Yep, that's my Krillin.
And then like, so Piccolo goes back to Orange Piccolo at this point, and another insane like, hey, do you remember you could do this kind of scene? Yeah. Is like, Krillin just drops like, hey, you know you could grow big from Dragon Ball, the original series. And Piccolo's like, oh yeah, I forgot I could do that. And it just becomes the size of Cell Max. And it's great.
It's great. It was at that point I was like I was already having a great time, but then it became a kaiju movie,
a kaiju fight. It's a kaiju.
Just like this is fucking sick. This is great.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, that was awesome.
They start brawling. At one point, Cell Max chops off Piccolo's arm, and I'm like, oh,
is it gonna grow back?
Like, yeah, and then this leads to Piccolo like shouting at Gohan to like lock in his new form, like get his new form out there.
Yep.
And the way they reveal it is so cool, because I was like, it better be something cool with the hair, because like we never got to see Super Saiyan 3 Gohan. We never got to see like Gohan with cool fun colored hair.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
You see his eyes go red, and there's like a big white flash. Then it comes back, and they slowly pan up from his feet. And like as soon as they start tilting up from the feet, I'm like, oh, he has a new look. He has to. And he gets to the top, huge white
hair and red eyes.
Introducing Beast Gohan.
Yeah. So to talk about this whole scene right here made the movie to me, and again solidifies to me that
it's one of the best fights I've seen.
Yeah, and Piccolo again solidifies himself at the top of my dad list, because he tells Gohan, he's like, he gives him the pep talk. It's like, listen. Awesome you're our hope. I'm gonna hold him down for you long enough. You are, you're the world's strongest hero. So you got to hit him with something strong, like a Kamehameha or something. And then, Gohan is standing there watching, his friends, his brother, and his father figure get his ass handed to him by Cell Max. Where you look at it, it's just like
his
Piccolo,
best friend, essentially.
Yeah. And Piccolo might be dead, and at that moment, Gohan snaps, and then Beast Gohan gets unlocked. Now. I had to look up what the form was after the fact. Otherwise, I'm just like, did he just go Ultra Instinct? Did that just happen? Like, I
kind of thought that. Admittedly, as an employee of the company, I did look at in some internal documents to confirm the name. It is Beast Gohan. Yeah,
love that.
I wanted to learn,
but yeah, we get this again. I think as a longtime fan, like you mentioned, it's so cool to watch Gohan get this cool hair and this new form. Again, we got Super Saiyan 3 and 4 Goku. Goku gets all the cool hair and the cool form. So does Vegeta. Gohan is forgotten as
only one to ever go beast mode.
Yeah,
and then the cherry on top, the finishing blow, is a special beam cannon.
That was so sick. Not a Kamehameha.
No, he could have done the Kamehameha. No, he does the special beam cannon because his real dad did the special beam cannon.
I was like, and he practices it in his free time. I'm just like, man,
it's so good. So they defeat Cell Max. In the process, Gamma 2 ends up dying. Big celebration at the end where they're all hanging out. And then Hito ends up getting a job with him and Gamma 1, end up working for the Capsule Corp, working in the cosmetics division, I believe.
Yes.
And then I believe after that Pan learns how to fly.
Yes.
And then it's roll credits.
Yeah, that's the credits roll.
And then the best post-credit scene, better than any MCU post-credit scene.
Yeah, it's pretty top tier. It's great. We get
you cut back Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
So we get the again credits roll. All the fun stuff happens. Great visuals in the credits, of course. But we get a post credit scene where we see Goku and Vegeta exhausted from their movie long fight. Vegeta throws a very soft punch at Goku. And Goku topples on the ground and exclaims that "You got me, Vegeta. You won." In which Vegeta
shouts out, "I beat Kakarot!"
and then also collapses on the ground. Beerus has fallen asleep while I forget the green girl's name, but she's like, "Oh, thank God that's over."
Broly's girlfriend, whatever.
Yes. And then Beerus' chef and Broly have been moved to tears watching Vegeta.
Just full on crying.
It was so good. This is perfect.
Yeah, it's such a good ending. Vegeta finally won, and then I think that was it. I immediately I was just like, oh, that was so much fun. I had such a blast watching it. I want to see it dubbed. I'm going to catch it when it's on a certain anime streaming service, I guess.
Yes.
I don't know if it's going to do. Honestly don't know if it's coming to Crunchyroll anytime soon or not. I have no information on that.
Sure.
But no, I loved it. I had such a fun time with it. I liked it so much more than Broly, more than Battle of the Gods, more than probably Resurrection F. I had a blast watching this movie. I thought it was cool to see the more fun characters take the front seat. And Piccolo is so cool. Piccolo's the coolest.
No, he's the best. The whole time during this movie, I was just I think back to the DBZ movies that don't have Goku as a main character. I think one of them famously is the Future Gohan movie that comes to mind. The one where he has one arm. I forget what that one's called, but there's a handful of them where Goku's not the main focus.
That's very much a blind spot for me.
Yeah, there's a handful of films where Goku isn't the main protagonist in the films. But again, Battle of the Gods, fine. Resurrection F, I thought was fun. Broly, I thought was phenomenal. Truthfully, this movie was so good. It was I was blown away.
It's my favorite Dragon Ball movie.
Yeah, it's
up there. I haven't seen too many. It's absolutely my favorite Dragon Ball movie. I had such a fun time. Thought the action was great, and especially I'm not going to get into it now, but I'm going to get into it off pod. The last big summer blockbuster that I saw was the new Thor movie.
Yes,
and I left that with such a sour taste in my mouth. And then coming to this and being oh, this is so much fun. And I'm man, I had so much more fun with this than any recent MCU movie. Where I was just it's cool to see these superheroes fight and the emotional stakes feel more heavy to me. I don't know. That's just me. But I just I liked it. I loved it. I had such a good time with it.
Also, just looked up on trivia. So this is the first movie since Dragon Ball Z Bio Broly that Goku has not had a major plot point in the plot. That movie came out 28 years ago in 1994. So
hey,
that was
I was a 1-year-old baby.
Yeah, that was a Goten and Trunks focus movie. Which is also, from what I remember, a lot of fun. I remember a few summers ago, I went back and watched all these movies. So,
speaking of Goten and Trunks, on the ride home, Josue and I were speculating about what the next movie could be, and they teased it. They teased what teenage Gotenks would look like. So you see them in the very end, trying to do the fusion again. If they make another Dragon Ball, they're going to. When they make another Dragon Ball movie, I really hope that Gotenks is the main focus of it because I love Gotenks.
I would
Gotenks
hope so, man.
Coolest.
The fusions,
I want to see teenage Gotenks.
That's why I got so excited. I'm just oh shit! They're going to show us teenage Gotenks. That's awesome. And then he's fat. And I'm just this is great, so great. But it's also what if?
No, his butt's hanging out the whole time. He's there for comedic purposes, which is fine. It's good. But I really wanted to see Gotenks be this little trickster. And I wish we could have gotten it, but whatever. I hope that we get a Gotenks movie in the future.
I hope so as well too. Again, I hope we again, it's so weird with the whole GT of it all, where it's you see these characters exist in other medias or whatever, so it's
they're slowly melting it all together.
Yeah, I would love to
everything's canon.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to see a movie where all this eventually just kind of bubbles to the surface again.
I would like to see them go into hell and fight Cell.
That would be cool.
It also seems like they're hey, wait a second. It also seems like they're setting up a big Frieza move too. Because I was talking to Josue, who's been reading the manga. Frieza's back in a big way. Spoilers, I'm sorry.
Nah, it's fine. I don't read manga. So
No, I know, but you have an audience, my friend.
oh, shoot. Spoiler, guys. Yeah, everyone knows what they're getting themselves into. So
Yeah, but no, Frieza's always coming back. Whatever. But yeah, I just think I don't know. I want to see I just want to see what Teenage Gotenks looks like. I want to see.
I do too.
I think Super Saiyan. My unpopular opinion amongst my friends is that I think that Super Saiyan 3 is the coolest shit. I love Super Saiyan 3. I want to see more Super Saiyan 3.
yeah, Super Saiyan 3 is sick.
I loved it. But yeah, I don't know. I had such a good time with this movie, and I'm so happy they made it to #1 in the box office in America. It's going to be doing very well for the near future, I would like to think. And yeah, it's easily one of my top 10 favorite films of the year as far as like stuff that came out this year. It's I officially ranked in my top 10. I think I have it as like number 7 or number 8.
I'd have to go through my list, but it's probably up there for me too. Also, out of animated movies, it's probably my favorite of the ones that I've seen this year. So,
Out of all animated films,
I had to think. Well, what else did I see this year? Oh,
Turning
man.
Red.
Oh yeah, I forgot that came out this year. Turning Red was pretty great.
Yeah.
That was
Sorry, no,
pretty
Turning
good.
Red's my second favorite of the year.
There you go. You want to spoil your number 1?
Oh, it's Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh,
People.
don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably mine too. So far.
My top 10 are Kimmy, Dragon Ball Superhero, Dragon Ball Superhero, Tony Hawk Until the Wheels Fall Off, Bodies, 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 Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Nope, RRR, Jackass Forever, Turning Red, and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
There's still a few
I'm
movies
very
on that I have to
excited.
watch still. So
I'm very excited to see 3,000 Years of Longing, because I have a feeling that's going to be my top 10 as well.
yeah, this movie definitely creeped into my top 10.
It's such a fun time.
Yeah, I've watched a bunch of movies this year that like I wouldn't have seen otherwise because again, as a Movie Pass member, I get to see a bunch of
You
stuff.
got to go for it,
But
baby.
like, Nope's up there is one of my favorites I've seen of this year.
Oh, Nope was great. Nope was so good.
Nope was phenomenal. Obviously, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I've saw that movie like 5 times in theaters.
I saw it twice, and it's good. I'm happy that I have a lot of friends who didn't get a chance to see it in theaters who are now being able to see it at home.
Yeah, it's great.
But yeah, it's a great movie. I love that movie.
But yeah, that we'll come back at the end of the year when everything else comes out. I'll let you know how I feel about.
Yeah.
all
We
the
could do
stuff.
that. We could do a year-end movie recap.
Absolutely.
We touched on it earlier, and I figured now's as good a time as any. I am wildly excited for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm super duper excited about that too. Got again, the entire end of the year is going to be chock full of so much content that I'm excited about. I'm very excited and invested into getting my feet wet with Pokemon again. I just bought Pokemon Mystery Dungeons for the first time. Never played it before. Very excited.
Did you finish Arceus?
I did finish Arceus. I loved it.
Great.
It was great.
Game.
It was awesome.
Probably the most fun I had with a Pokemon game in ages.
Yeah,
and I love Sword and Shield too. For the record, I love Sword and Shield. It's like a top 4 Pokemon game for me as far as mainline installments go.
Yeah, no, me too. That's definitely like I'm just very much in my Pokemon bag right now. I'm very excited to be.
Yeah, man. I mean, I know you were back on Pokemon Go for exactly one day. I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter.
I'm still trying.
No, you're not. I can tell how long it's been since you logged on. I have
right.
you at it. Don't lie to me.
I'll go for a walk tomorrow. It rained today. No, it didn't. I'm lying. I'm just lazy. I'm sorry. Anyway.
Oh wait, hold on. I'm sorry. We can take this off pod. I'm sorry. It's something about our friend just shared. I'll talk about it later.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so we're
No, Scarlet Violet looks cool. Have you picked a starter?
I'm team Quaxley until further notice.
I'm a Quaxley guy.
Big duck
I'm a
guy.
Quaxley guy too.
Big duck guy.
Honestly, my take right now is that like I don't think any of the new Pokemon have really excited me too much outside of the starters. I think I'm kind of waiting for like the rest of the stuff to roll in, but I might be rocking a legacy team.
Yeah, that's always like my biggest problem whenever I play like Pokemon games, or just
my teams are almost always like new Pokemon across the board. But I don't know. This time around, I'm like nothing's really catching my eye. So
yeah, I got to see what that regional deck looks like. I got to see what I'm playing with on this first playthrough.
I was looking through it. I mean, I'm waiting for my favorites to get confirmed. I'm waiting for Whimsicott, Electivire, I think Heracross might be confirmed at this point.
I believe he is confirmed. You might be right about that.
We'll have to check Cerebi. Someone get Joe Merrick on the line.
I'll call him right now.
Let's get Joe Merrick and never mind. But no, I'm excited for Scarlet Violet. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna have to play together.
Absolutely.
We're gonna have to play together online. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm probably gonna stream it. I'm gonna get back on my streaming bag soon. So you guys look forward to that. I'm excited, man. Pokemon Sonic the Hedgehog and movies are gonna have me by the throat come to the end of this year.
There's a lot of cool movies coming out at the end of the year that I'm looking forward to. There's this small indie film that I want to check out. Would be funny if I said like Avatar 2: The Way of Water.
Black Panther
no.
2.
Now I'm excited for this movie called Funny Pages. It looks really good. It's produced by the Safdie brothers who did Uncut Gems.
Okay.
But it's about this aspiring comic artist and like spending time with one of his favorite comic artists. And it looks like a good indie flick. So I'm excited to see that when I can. And
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm also excited for One Piece film Red.
Yeah. You know what?
I will say, when the movie started and the Crunchyroll logo, the Crunchyroll logo is the first thing you see.
Yes.
I did go, yeah.
You should have worn a shirt that said, "This guy works for."
I work for Crunchyroll.
Just stand up and scream a spoiler in the movie, in the film because you worked for the company.
Guys, Piccolo's in this one.
Hey guys, Piccolo turns orange.
No, I didn't know that. I actually managed to stay spoiler free.
Nice. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I managed to like sit back and not consume any of the spoilers, so I'm very lucky in that regard.
Absolutely. Yeah, but that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about today.
Nice.
Talk about Dragon Ball, talk about movies, just kind of catch up. It's again, we've been very busy human beings, so it's been a while since we got to kick in and do something.
Seeing Billy Joel tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm super stoked for
By
it.
the time is this coming out? Is this coming out Friday?
Yeah, it's gonna come out Friday.
Nice, cool.
Yes. So
I will have seen Billy Joel by the time this podcast.
Who do you think Billy Joel plays in Pokemon Unite?
That's a really good question. So like he is known for like his articulation and like being very specific. Like he's very like he's got fast fingers. So I'm gonna say it.
Mm-hmm.
So my gut instinct is probably like a Mr. Mime, maybe, or maybe he definitely plays support.
He definitely plays.
maybe Aegislash. He could do Aegislash because like there's like a lot of form changing there, and like you have to know like he plays a complex character that like. My gut says Mr. Mime. Maybe he's converted over to Hoopa since Hoopa got added.
It's possible.
Hoopa's also necessary in every team at this point.
It's kind of nuts.
I like Hoopa. Hoopa's cool though. I don't know. I'll stick with Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime, I think, is who Billy Joel plays in Pokemon Unite.
All right, you may be right.
You may be crazy.
It just might be the support main you were looking for.
There we go.
There we go, folks. Anyway. Sean, thank you as always. It's always a pleasure to sit down and talk to you, regardless. But thank you so much for coming on the show again this week. You are a scholar and a saint, and hopefully we get to see each other soon. Once our schedules clear up, so we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully things will happen. So let the people know where they can find you on the interwebs if you feel like doing that.
First and foremost, I want to say those of you in the Northeast region of the United States, kill your local lanternfly. Lanternflies are a scourge, and you should stomp on them and squish them. They've infested Pennsylvania for years, and they're now all over New York City. If you see a lanternfly, I know it's a pretty looking bug, but kill that bug. It's for the better good of your local trees. You can find me on Twitter at Captain Toney. You can find me on Lettrbox at frogmans, and you can find me on TikTok at DougFartDogless.
There you go. All the fun places. And you guys can check me out at Koopa NJ across platforms. I am pretty much landlocked for a bit because I'm busy with work, so I can't really go to
Patreon checks haven't hit yet.
Yeah, I'm so the Patreon will come eventually once I get a little bit more time on my hands.
I'm sorry.
Once I hire a secretary, that'll work out again. But hey, check us out on YouTube. Check us out there if you want to see the video version of everything. And maybe by 2023, I'll be a well-oiled machine with a staff of 18 people.
We gotta oil you up, Coop.
That's Koop'd up for sure. You guys can check out the show, Koop'd Pod, across platforms. Leave likes, subscribe, reviews, wherever you get your podcasts. We're everywhere. Like I said, I got some fun stuff coming up later this month. Who
are some guests you got lined up, Koopa? Let's hear it.
Well, I got my friend Sleepy Kokiri coming back on the show later this month. Neither of us have seen Lord of the Rings. We're doing a Lord of the Rings podcast. So with one of
I haven't seen friends. Lord of the Rings either.
High five through the internet. Yeah, there we go. We nailed it.
Count it.
I got that coming up. I got some fun ideas. I'm gonna sprinkle around with a bit too. Cool. I've been watching a lot. I've been watching a lot more TV lately than I have.
It's been a TV or more so than a movie, or in my opinion.
I've been watching a good amount of TV outside of like the.
Have you watched Players yet?
I have not watched it yet. I want to watch it.
You're gonna love Players. You gotta watch Players. You're gonna love it.
Yeah, I've been on a Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul binge. Because I've never seen either show.
You finished Breaking Bad.
I just finished Breaking Bad. I'm in the midst of season 4 of Saul. So
I never got into Saul because it started. I watched Breaking Bad as it aired, And then when Breaking Bad was over, like a few months later, it's like, here's Better Call Saul, and I'm like, I'm gonna try it. And I just couldn't finish it because I was just like burnt out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this year my favorite shows have really been obviously The Rehearsal, Nathan Fielder's new project, which just finished up season 1. Incredible television.
Oh, it's great.
And then I think the show of the summer, FX's The Bear.
Oh yeah, I heard that's good. I gotta check that out.
The Bear's great. Watch The Bear. It's only 8 episodes. It's such a good show. I love The Bear. Wonderful show.
All right, I'll put it on my list. I'll go watch it right now before I go to bed.
All right.
But yeah, so that's going to be it for this week's show, folks. Thank you so much for checking us out, and we will catch you guys on the flip side. Good night, everybody.